Learning objectives. In this chapter, the user would learn the following in detail. Defining interpersonal communication, the impact of conversations on relationships, formal and informal communication, vertical versus horizontal organizations, communication styles, communication climate, job productivity and satisfaction at workplace, building interpersonal skills in the workplace, etiquettes. Building interpersonal skills in the workplace. Effective communication involves more than the basic aspects of verbal and non-verbal expression and listening. Apart from their speaking and listening skills, individuals' success is determined by the way they interact and communicate with other members of the organization and the way they work with others as a team. The ability of individuals to build and maintain relationships with other members of the organization constitutes their interpersonal skills. Interpersonal skills are an essential part of effective communication. Talent and academic brilliance notwithstanding, an individual cannot make it to the more coveted post and stay there if he or she cannot work harmoniously with a group of people. Building positive relationships. According to Lee Iacocca, there's one phrase I hate to see on any executive's evaluation, no matter how talented he may be, and that's the line, he has trouble getting along with other people. To me, that's the kiss of death. The personal relationships that employees in an organization share determine the communication culture of the firm. Mutual trust and a sense of recognition among the employees contribute to a positive work culture. Use descriptive I language. A sentence like, "You are always late to work," is an example of the you language and tends to verbally accuse the receiver. Now let us look at the sentence. "Since you have been coming in late, I have had to make a lot of excuses whenever the director asks for you. I'm uncomfortable with that." The basic difference between both cases is the language used for communicating the same message. While the first sentence sounds judgmental and is more likely to result in defensiveness, the second is more descriptive. It has clear and specific statements and is not judgmental. Focus on solving problems, not on controlling others. A controlling message is one in which the speaker attempts to manipulate or coerce the listener. Controlling messages usually contain elements that attack the speaker's intelligence, while a problem-solving orientation focuses on identifying the problem and solving it through mutual cooperation. Let us look at the following two sentences. "If you continue to come late to work, I will have to sack you." Let's try to figure out why you have difficulty coming to the office on time and see what we can do about it. The first sentence shows little regard for the other person's needs, while the second recognizes that there is a problem and suggests that it can be solved through joint effort. Be open. Don't try to deceive. Nobody likes to be manipulated or deceived. The moment a person discovers that he or she has been tricked into a particular course of action through misleading or deceptive messages, he or she becomes extremely defensive. Being open in these circumstances is likely to generate less defensiveness. Although people may not always like what is said, they will eventually grow to respect the frankness of expression. Show empathy. Lack of understanding, interest or concern about others' issues creates defensiveness. Let us look at two messages to understand the importance of being empathic and the difference it makes in communication. "I don't care what your problems are. Get this job done by the end of the day." This kind of a message communicates that the employee's emotions are of little consequence. This message phrase to show concern for the listener along with an assurance that he is valued. I hope it will not be too difficult for you to complete this job today. Don't put on an air of superiority. The listener tends to become defensive when the speaker considers himself superior and displays it in his communication to the subordinate. Such messages make the listener defensive and he or she tends to ignore or forget the message. The supervisor who implies, "Do it this way because I am the boss and I say so," in his message is likely to incur the dislike of his staff. On the other hand, the supervisor who says, "How do you think we should handle this problem?" is likely to get greater support from his staff and create a positive environment that encourages better communication and feedback. Listen with an open mind. Individuals, especially those at a higher level of the hierarchy, must listen to others with an open mind. A closed mind indicates that they are not interested in the topic and have already made up their minds. A statement like, "This is not possible and sounds ridiculous," before listening completely to the speaker reflects negativity. Instead, a statement like, "Though I have seen a few reports that said it is not possible, let us see if you have a new perspective," makes the speaker feel good and motivated. Communication climate. The communication climate is an organization depends on the personal relations shared by the employees. Being open and empathetic towards others goes a long way in building positive relationships at the workplace. Praising an employee when he or she deserves it establishes a culture of motivation in an organization. Dealing with criticism in a positive and efficient way can help avoid conflicts and maintain good work relationships. Avoiding, accommodating, competing, collaborating, and compromising are different approaches that can be used to manage conflicts. One can use the strategies of restate, agree, refocus, dissect, complement, compromise, postpone, or exist for resolving conflicts. Poor communication climate. A poor communication climate inhibits cooperation. For example, if employees don't believe a manager is competent and trustworthy, they will be unenthusiastic about new projects and perhaps even drag their feet. Similarly, if managers don't trust their employees to do a good job, they might micromanage every last detail of a project. Interpersonal communication. The most important factor in a communication climate is interpersonal communication. At the most basic level, interpersonal communication depends on soft skills, also known as people skills. These include the habits, attitudes, personal qualities, and social graces that make someone easy to get along with and an effective colleague, according to the book. Effects. If individual workers have well-developed soft skills, their high-functioning interpersonal relationships will optimize the flow of information at the organizational level. Open channels of information allow managers to receive and incorporate constructive feedback from the workers in the trenches, as well as monitor progress and quickly implement course corrections. Healthy horizontal communication, for example, among colleagues working on a project, also helps the business stay on track. Expert insight. Removing hierarchical boundaries can improve the communication climate. Allowing workers in different departments to access each other's performance data, for example, can enhance discussions about organizational strategy and help employees see how their actions interact. Creating a more open communication climate can also improve productivity. For instance, a steel company in Florida opened its financial books to its lower-level employees. The open communication strategy resulted in significant cost cuts as the workers began to see how their decisions impacted organizational success. Communication styles. The 5 communication styles: assertive, aggressive, passive aggressive, submissive, manipulative. The assertive style. Assertive communication is a style that is born out of high self-esteem. It is the healthiest and most effective style of communication, the sweet spot between being too aggressive and too passive. When one is assertive, he has the confidence to communicate without resorting to games or manipulation. A person knows his limits and doesn't allow himself to be pushed beyond it because someone else wants or needs something from him. Surprisingly, however, assertive style is the most people's style of communication but is also the least used. This style is about winning always, often at someone else's expense. An aggressive person behaves as if his needs are the most important, as though he has more rights and has more to contribute than other people. It is an ineffective communication style as the content of the message may get lost because people are too busy reacting to the way it's delivered. The passive aggressive style. This is a style in which people appear passive on the surface but are actually acting out their anger indirect or behind the scenes ways. Prisoners of war often act in passive aggressive ways in order to deal with an overwhelming lack of power. People who behave in this manner usually feel powerless and resentful and express their feelings by subtly undermining the object, real or imagined, of their resentments, even if this ends up sabotaging themselves. The expression, "cut off your nose to spite your face," is a perfect description of passive aggressive behavior. The submissive style. This style is about pleasing other people and avoiding conflict. A submissive person behaves as if the needs of other people is more important and other people have more rights and more to contribute. The manipulative style. This style is scheming, calculating, and shrewd. Manipulative communicators are skilled at influencing or controlling others to their own advantage. Their spoken words hide an underlying message of which the other person may be totally unaware. The benefit of understanding different styles of communication. A good understanding of the 5 basic styles of communication will help you in learning how to react effectively when confronted with a new or difficult person. It will also help you recognize when you are not being assertive or not behaving in the most effective way. Remember, people always have choice as to which communication style they have to use. Being assertive is usually the most effective, but other styles are, of course, is necessary in certain situations, such as being submissive when under physical threat, a mugging, hijacking, etc. Good communication skills require a very high level of self-awareness and confidence. Once one understands his own communication style, it is much easier to identify any shortcomings or areas which can be improved on and also decide if he wants to start communicating in a more assertive manner. If one is serious about strengthening his relationships, reducing stress from conflict and decreasing unnecessary anxiety in his life, practice being more assertive. It will help him diffuse anger, reduce guilt, and build better relationships both personally and professionally. Remember the first rule of effective communication. The success of the communication is the responsibility of the communicator. Etiquette. Making positive impressions. How one presents himself to others in the business world speaks volumes. People often form first impressions, others within seconds of first meeting them. Therefore, it is crucial to ensure you are properly prepared to present yourself as a professional. Mentioned below are some important tips towards making a good impression. Stand straight, make eye contact, turn towards people when they are speaking, and genuinely smile at people. Follow your office dress code, perhaps dressing a step above the norm for your office. Your briefcase or bag and the things you carry in them say something about you. Messy items may detract from the image you would like to present. When meeting someone for the first time, be sure to shake hands palm to palm with a gentle firmness. Be alert. Sleepiness looks bad in the workplace. Kindness and courtesy count. Arrive early to work each day. People. How a person treats others say a lot about them. Learn names and learn them quickly. A good tip for remembering names is to use a person's name 3 times within your first conversation with them. Also, write names down and keep business cards. People know when you don't know their names and may interpret this as a sign that you don't value them. Don't make value judgments on people's importance in the workplace. Talk to the maintenance staff members and to the people who perform many of the administrative support functions. These people deserve your respect. Self-assess. Think about how you treat your supervisors, peers, and subordinates. Would the differences in the relationships, if seen by others, cast you in an unfavorable light? If so, find where the imbalance exists and start the process of reworking the relationship dynamic. What you share with others about your personal life is your choice, but be careful. Things can come back to haunt you. Don't ask others to share their personal lives with you. This makes many people uncomfortable in the workplace. Respect people's personal space. This may be very different than your own. Communicating. Communicating is sometimes not what you say, but how you say it that really counts. Return phone calls and emails within 24 hours, even if only to say that you will provide requested information at a later date. Ask before putting someone on speakerphone. Personalize your voicemail. There's nothing worse than just hearing a phone number on someone's voicemail and not knowing if you are leaving a message with the correct person. People may not even leave messages. Emails at work should be grammatically correct and free of spelling errors. They should not be treated like personal email. When emailing, use the subject box and make sure it directly relates to what you are writing. This ensures ease in finding it later and a potentially faster response. Never say in an email anything you wouldn't say to someone's face. Underlining, italicizing, bolding, coloring, and changing font size can make a mild email message seem overly strong or aggressive. Meetings. This can easily be the most intimidating part of starting a new job. The environment of a meeting requires some careful navigation to maintain your professional image, whether the meetings are on one-to-one with several colleagues or with external clients. For a meeting in someone's office, don't arrive more than 5 minutes early, as they may be prepping for your meeting, another meeting later that day, or trying to get other work done. You may make them uncomfortable, and that is not a good way to begin your meeting. Don't arrive late, ever. Even if you are going to be late, try to let someone know so that people are not sitting around waiting for you. Don't forget that being on time for a meeting means arriving 5 minutes early. For an interview, arrive 10 minutes early. When a meeting runs late and you need to be somewhere else, always be prepared to explain where you need to be, understanding that the value of where you need to be will likely be judged. Do not interrupt people. This is a bad habit to start and a tough one to end. There is a time and place for confrontation, and a meeting is almost never that place. You will embarrass and anger other people, and you will look bad for doing it. Give people time and space outside of meetings to reflect on issues that need to be dealt with. Workspace. You may spend more working hours in workspaces than in your home space. So, keep the space professional and neat with appropriate personal touches. People will see the space and consider it a reflection of you. Whether it is a cubicle or office, respect others' space. Don't just walk in, knock, or make your presence gently known. Don't assume acknowledgement of your presence is an invitation to sit down. Wait until you are invited to do so. Don't interrupt people on the phone, and don't try to communicate with them verbally or with sign language. You could damage an important phone call. Limit personal calls, especially if you work in a space that lacks a door. Learn when and where it is appropriate to use your cell phone in your office. Food consumption should generally be regulated. Smells and noise from food can be distracting to others trying to work. International business etiquette. As the global market grows, the need to understand multiple international standards of business ethics grows. Research the country you will be working in or visiting. Note the proper etiquette, culture, and customs for that country. There are, however, a few key things to keep in mind when conducting business internationally. Knowing the language makes an excellent impression on the people you are doing business with. Barely knowing the language, but feigning fluency could really harm the work you are trying to accomplish. Be mindful of time zones. You don't want to wake someone up on their cell phone or call someone with an unreasonable deadline or concern at an awkward time of day for them. As there is no standard global workday, you should keep in mind that work hours vary from country to country. This is important when scheduling meetings or conference calls. Know the holidays that will be observed and be respectful of the time surrounding the holidays, as people may be less available. Meals can be extremely crucial in making a positive international business etiquette impression. The customs that are followed when dining are often very important, and mistakes in this area could be costly. Knowing the etiquette well in advance should allow you to relax and enjoy what could be an amazing new experience. Formal and informal communication. Definition of formal communication. Formal communication is defined as the type in which the flow of information is already defined. The communication follows a hierarchical chain of command which is the organization establishes. In general, this type of communication is used exclusively in the workplace and the employees are bound to follow it. Example: request to management, commands to subordinates, orders, reports, etc. Formal communication is of four types. Upward or bottom up. Communication in which the flow of information goes from subordinate to superior authority. Communication from lower level to higher level. Downward or top down. The communication in which the flow of information goes from superior to subordinate. Communication from higher level to lower level. Horizontal or lateral. Communication between two employees of different departments working at the same level. Crosswise or diagonal. The communication between the employees of two different departments working at different levels. Definition of informal communication. In this type of communication, there is no need to follow any type of predefined channel for the transmission of information. This type of communication moves freely in all directions and thus it is very effective. In any organization, this type of communication is very quick and rapid as people interact with each other about their professional as well as personal life. Example: sharing of feelings, casual discussion, gossips, etc. Informal communication is of 4 types. Single strand chain. type in which one person tells something to another, who again passes on information to some other person, and the process goes on. Cluster chain. The process in which one person passes the message to some of his most trusted people, and then they will tell them to their trustworthy friends, and the communication continues. Probability chain. This type of communication happens when a person randomly chooses someone to pass on the information which is of little interest but not important. Gossip chain. The communication starts when a person passes the message to a group of people, and then they pass on the information to some more people, and in this way the information is passed on to everyone. Comparison chart. Basis for comparison: formal communication, informal communication. Under basis for comparison, meaning: a type of verbal communication in which the interchange of information is done through the predefined channels is known as formal communication. A type of verbal communication in which the interchange of information does not follow any channels, that is, the communication stretches in all directions. Another name: official communication, grapevine communication. Reliability: more, comparatively less. Speed: slow, very fast. Evidence: as the communication is generally written, documentary evidence is present. No documentary evidence. Time consuming: yes, no. Advantage: effective due to timely and systematic flow of information. Efficient because employees can discuss work-related problems. This saves time and cost of the organization. Disadvantage: distortion due to long chain of communication, spread of rumors. Secrecy: full secrecy is maintained. It is difficult to maintain the secrecy. Flow of information: only through predefined channels, can move freely. Horizontal and vertical organizations. Organizational structure within an organization clarifies the roles of all the employees, facilitates communication, and establishes a chain of responsibility to help determine strengths and weaknesses. Before you determining if the organizational structure has to be vertical or horizontal, one has to understand the differences between the two frameworks. Implementing the correct organizational structure is critical to maximizing staff productivity. A vertical organization is one that has a pyramid look when charted out on paper. The top is the company president or chief executive officer, and then each division is made up of a series of middle management and supervisors who are responsible for various departments. This is often referred to as a tall organization. A horizontal structure is one which does not have any middle management, where employees are largely allowed to make their own day-to-day operational decisions. Large groups of employees often report to just one manager. It is also called a flat organization. Identification. Vertically structured or tall companies have a chain of management, usually with a CEO who makes decisions and then delegates them to authorities in the lower level. Horizontal, also called flat, companies have almost no middle managers. That is, only high-level managers handle day-to-day tasks and usually interact with customers and frontline employees personally. Significance. Most new companies and small businesses opt for a horizontally arranged company because they have a limited amount of employees. Small businesses tend to be more intimate, and the lack of a large workforce means management styles are more informal than formal. In addition, small businesses may not even have the resources to hire any middle management. Disadvantages. Vertical companies are dependent on a strong leader at the top. Weak upper management means that each successive hierarchical structure will get frustrated by poor decision making by the superior. In addition, tall companies lack the transparency of a horizontal company because each layer muddles information more and more. Horizontal companies are much harder to implement than vertical companies, especially as the business grows, because the business must foster a culture of teamwork. Employees may be less sure about their roles and responsibilities within the company, and project managers can be frustrated by their lack of authority. Potential. Companies will become more horizontal than vertical as the world globalizes, because customers will demand fast response times and better service, two things at which horizontal companies excel. No business, however, should have a strictly horizontal or vertical structure, but rather should implement the best of both worlds. Interpersonal communication. The unit introduces the students to the fundamentals and importance of communication and how nonverbal signals can be interpreted. We will also learn how good interpersonal and negotiation skills can help one grow. This unit discusses how success of an individual largely depends upon his or her interpersonal skills and how these skills determine the quality of their relationships with others. It emphasizes the need to be open and empathetic to building positive relations in an organization and also discusses how to deal with criticism and manage conflict. Interpersonal communication. Interpersonal communication is defined as the process of exchanging information between two or more people. It is also an area of study. Communication skills can be developed and also enhanced or improved with increased knowledge and practice. During interpersonal communication, there is a message that is being received. Interpersonal communication can be both direct and indirect. Successful interpersonal communication is when the sender and the receiver understand the message. The course introduces the students to the fundamentals and importance of communication and how nonverbal signals can be interpreted. They also learn how good interpersonal and negotiation skills can help one grow. The course also deals with writing effective resumes, tackling interviews, and making effective presentations and speeches. The course gives an overview of written communication and how visual aids and graphics enhance understanding of the written word. The course also provides an understanding on how to write clear, concise, and effective business letters for all situations that can arise in business. Elements of interpersonal communication. 1. The communicators. Any type of communication involves minimum of two people. It is easy to think that communication involves just a sender and a receiver. However, the problem with this way of seeing a relationship is that it presents communication as a one-way process where one person sends the message and the other receives it, while one person is talking and another is listening. Communications are almost always complex. It is a two-way process with which people send and receive messages to and from each other simultaneously. In other words, communication is an interactive process. While one person is talking to the other is listening. But while listening, they are also sending feedback, smiling, nods, etc. 2. The message. Message does not just contain the information conveyed, but also non-verbal messages exchanged such as facial expressions, tone of voice, gestures and body language. Non-verbal behavior can convey additional information about the spoken message. In particular, it can reveal more about emotional attitudes which may underline the content of speech. Noise. Noise has a special meaning in the theory of communication. It refers to anything that distorts the message so that what is received is different from what is intended by the speaker. Whilst physical noise, for example, background sounds or a low-flying jet plane, can interfere with communication, other factors are considered to be noise. The use of complicated jargon, inappropriate body language, inattention, disinterest, and cultural differences can be considered noise in the context of interpersonal communication. In other words, any distortion or inconsistencies that occur during an attempt to communicate can be seen as noise. 4. Feedback. Feedback is generally the message that the receiver returns, which allows the sender to know how accurately the message has been received as well as the receiver's reaction. The receiver may also respond to the speaker's body language. Types of feedback range from direct verbal statements, for example, "Say that again, I don't understand," to subtle facial expressions or changes in posture that might indicate to the sender that the receiver feels uncomfortable with the message. Feedback allows the sender to regulate, adapt, or repeat the message in order to improve communication. 5. Context. All communication is influenced by the context in which the communication takes place. However, apart from looking at the situational context of where the interaction takes place, for example in a room, office, or perhaps outdoors, the social context also needs to be considered. For example, the roles, responsibilities, and relative status of the participants. The emotional climate and participants' expectations of the interaction will also affect the communication. 6. Channel. The channel refers to the physical means by which the message is transferred from one person to another. In face-to-face conversation, the channels which can be speech and vision. In a telephonic conversation, the channel is limited to speech alone. Job productivity and satisfaction at workplace. The performance of every employee includes social support, feedback, and opportunities for autonomy, variety, and growth. Such resources are good for the employee. They satisfy basic human needs and good for the workplace because when job resources are rich, work gets done more quickly and with better results. The process, moreover, cyclical. Working better is more rewarding for the employee, which in turn increases his engagement and effectiveness. Interestingly, engagement and high-quality performance is greatest when the demands of the job are highest. This principle applies even to what we think of as low-level jobs, such as those at a fast food restaurant. Employees' personal skills such as self-esteem and optimism also contribute to work engagement. Not only do workers with abundant personal resources approach their jobs with more enthusiasm and joy, they also tend to be in better health, allowing them to focus and work hard. They as well as tend to create more of all these goodies for themselves through job crafting, seeking ways to make their responsibilities fit their talents and interest and to increase challenge. The process is an upward spiral. Job crafters gain admiration from other workers, thus transferring their attitudes to them. Those more productive attitudes increase the other workers' engagement and with it, their own productivity and personal reward. Indeed, no one should expect to feel or to be expected to exhibit peak engagement every second of the workday. Sometimes work is tedious. Employees need to be able to tolerate that. Nor should they be held to impossible standards. Downtime is not only a mark of sympathetic management, it helps renew workers, keeping them happy, productive, and engaged. The impact of communication on relationships. Communication is important in all relationships as it allows to share interests, aspirations, and concerns. These aspects helps us to support each other, to organize our lives, to make decisions, and to work together in bringing up children. Good communication is all about the way we talk and listen and about our body language. We can all learn how to improve the way we communicate. Communicating clearly in a relationship. Talk to each other. No matter how well you know and love the other person, you cannot read your partner's mind. Partners have to communicate clearly to avoid misunderstandings that may hurt, anger, or confuse the other person. When you talk to your partner, try to think about what you want to say and what you are feeling when you say it. Be clear about what you are saying. Be clear about your message so that your partner hears it accurately and understands what you mean. Talk about what you want and feel. Use I statements such as I need, I want, and I feel. Share positive feelings with your partner, such as what you appreciate and admire about them and how important they are to you. Improving communication in a relationship. It is an art to master open and clear communication. To improve the way a couple communicates, start by asking questions such as, what things can cause conflict between you and your partner? Are the conflicts because you are not listening to each other? What brings happiness and feelings of connection? What can cause disappointment and pain? What things don't you talk about and what stops you from talking about them? How would you like your communication with your partner to be different? If possible, ask these questions with your partner and share your responses. Consider and try ways to communicate directly. See whether the results improve your communication. When you are more aware of how you communicate, you will be able to have more control over what happens between you. While it may not be easy at first, opening up new areas of communication can lead to a more fulfilling relationship. Conclusion. In this chapter, we have covered the following in detail. Defining interpersonal communication, the impact of conversations on relationships, formal and informal communication, vertical versus horizontal organizations, communication styles, communication climate, job productivity and satisfaction at workplace, building interpersonal skills in the workplace, etiquettes.